Alright, so fall just started not too long ago, and I'm kind of working on transitioning stuff into a sort of fall growth situation. I know there's still plenty of time in the year to grow stuff, and plenty of stuff is still growing, but a lot of the stuff that's kind of done for the year, I'm kind of getting rid of and moving out. This guy here is almost done. I just pulled off, the stem was right here, looks like. I just pulled off a fully mature summer squash, and I'm going to be saving seeds from that. I might show a little bit of how that's done. Haven't quite decided yet. But this guy's just about done. You can kind of see we had a lot of powdery mildew really affecting these guys. It was all over the weeds out here. This guy here and my my honey rock melon, I'll show you guys in a second, that also had a lot of winter powdery mildew on it. This guy I sprayed down, and I think it might not have liked whatever spray I used. The squash didn't really bother at all. It was just fine. That, or maybe it's the temperature, because it has been getting colder at night now. But we got one good melon off of this guy, and then we pulled another one which was too early, because I was told that the first one was pulled too late. So it wasn't quite ready either. And so we've got another couple here that are probably going to end up going to the chickens because they're just not ripening, because this guy's pretty much done for. But we're going to be getting rid of that soon. Mandarin orange still going strong. This guy, I might not have to take this guy in more than maybe a handful of times over winter, just because it doesn't get that cold. I've tried looking it up, and there's different sources saying like how cold it can handle. As far as I can tell, pretty much anything above freezing, it's fine. So I just harvested my sunflowers, and I can show you guys that I did kind of two waves, because there were two varieties that we grew. The first ones are all done over here, drying out, and they're super lightweight. They're not as sturdy as I thought they would, because I've been told that you can use these, you can save these and use them for trellising like beans and stuff. They're not as strong as I thought it would be, but it's extremely lightweight. And these ones all here are pretty small, these ones are a little stiffer than I thought they would be too, the smaller ones. But the large ones just finished. Not only are they tall, but they are thick and they are strong. These seem stronger when they're fresh. Like the other ones were stronger when they were fresh as well. So I don't know how these ones are going to be once they've dried out. But they're over like 9 feet long, crazy long. So I'm going to be saving seeds off this guy here especially. Really big head, if you can see that. I'm going to save the seeds off that, plant them, and see how we do here. Some of these might actually be starting to rot, actually, because they're getting dark. So I'm going to have to do some quality control check on some of these seeds. Pomegranate. It's been doing this sort of yellowing on the leaves since I put it in the ground. I'm not exactly sure what the issue is, if it's a nitrogen issue or if it's something else. The new growth here, this big guy here, a whole new stem that came up this year, doesn't really seem to have much of anything on it, like maybe a couple tiny bits of yellowing on it, but the rest of it's fine, so I don't know. I'm going to have to do some research on that. A little bit of brown coming with it, but that could also just be the time of year. What else are we going to be working on? I'm going to be doing some videos on maybe the blueberries, just for how I'm going to prune them. Oh, what's going on here? Eggs. Something hatched, or is hatching here. But I might do something on how I'm going to prune these. I haven't quite decided yet. There really isn't much to do with them right now because they're still so young. But all the raspberries, as soon as these go dormant, I'm going to have to prune them, and I'll show you guys how I do that. Same thing with thimbleberry I'm not going to touch, but the trailing blackberry, this guy just exploded with growth. And we're going to want to clean it up just a little bit towards the center. This guy finally started growing, and I'm super excited about it. But I wasn't able to get enough sunlight on it, so I don't know if it's going to flower. This is our male flowering trailing blackberry, companion to our female flowering. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do. This guy just might take another year break until I can get some of these vines to grow long enough. Right, if it was full summer right now, they would be getting direct sunlight. but these did not start growing until the sun already started going down, so we might not get anything. It might not have gotten enough sunlight to produce flowers. So if not this next spring, then the following spring after that. And if you guys are noticing, I'm getting a ton of weeds coming up in these wood chips. I do kind of want to talk about that. I think that there are some misconceptions to how well of a weed block wood chips are, and I've definitely probably been fooled a little bit by that. I think that it works really well for several different aspects. It's a really good weed barrier for existing weeds, except for some like really tough ones like dandelions. But it's also really good. Once it starts breaking down, it becomes a really good bed for seeds to sprout out of. Like I can show you over here where some things just will not grow in wood chips, no matter how long you let them sit there. And I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. This wild strawberry here is one plant, and all of these runners, this is well over 100 runners off one plant. It's never wilted in the sun from the heat or from lack of water, which is one of the biggest advantages of the wood chips. But all of this is coming off one, okay, maybe it looks like 2 plants here. And pretty much none of them are rooting, because the wood chips aren't allowing them that moisture to get the runners to produce roots. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic where you can actually get seeds. I guess if the seeds get down below the dry level onto a moisture section of the wood chips, it kind of gets them to sprout, but it doesn't allow something established like this sort of vining herbaceous plant to really get through the wood chips. Another issue is, of course, not being able to weed around the edges. So like you can kind of see here, I just got a lawnmower towards the end of summer, and by then a lot of the stuff had already been growing, or had already gone to seed by then. So a lot of stuff had already seeded, already set seeds down in the ground, and now I'm having to fight it. And it's not hard right now because I can just go through it with a rake and just kind of disturb them, and just maybe once a week just go through and continually just start disturbing them to try to keep them from growing. But I can see now where if you let other aspects of your yard kind of fall apart, then it kind of just compounds onto the work that you already did. So that's something that I've just kind of noticed here. I still think it's a really good tool for improving the soil and planting in, but there's some other issues like keeping the rest of your weeds down that also kind of need to be maintained. It's really good for keeping weeds down in the center, like down over here in the center, away from the edges. I've got no weeds here. Walk down here, I've got like no weeds here. Every once in a while you'll see like a little bit of grass, or again a dandelion coming up here. This is stuff that survived the cardboard, but they're easy enough to remove that it's never been a nuisance. It's never been an issue to remove. Super easy, just pluck them and done. Hardneck garlic, doing great. Still not sure what to expect from these considering I started them so early, but I have noticed over here, these guys here, you see these 3, I think it's just the 3 here so far. These have a garlic smell to them, and they're right around the area that the softneck garlic was growing. So I'm inclined to believe that these are bulbs or parts of bulbs that somehow I missed and are just growing back up again, because softneck garlic does not grow from seed. So I'm interested to see what happens with those. If it turns out it's not garlic, it's just something else, then it will get tossed. This is where the sunflowers were, chopped them down. Our potatoes, these ones are almost ready to get pulled, but those ones over there are still flowering, and it's usually like another month or so after you flower that you finally pull them up, of course depending on variety. And with these being a variety that there's really not a lot of info on online, I'm kind of hesitant to just start ripping them out yet, but I'm worried about the rainy season starting and these guys rotting in the ground. So I'm still not sure what to do with them just yet. Asparagus, doing great. I'm kind of worried about how big these are going to get now that I kind of realize how closely I planted them all together, especially with the strawberries. Because this one here is our tall one. This is the one of the newest things that kind of sprouted up so far. And it's tall. It's still not nearly thick enough for harvesting, which is why, obviously you leave them you're supposed to leave them in the ground for the first couple years. But if it had been a couple years and it was time to start harvesting, this is still way too thin. But it's already too tall in its mature state, so I'm kind of wondering what I'm going to be doing with that. Obviously, I'm probably just going to end up leaving them, but the strawberries growing in here might become an issue. But our newly planted crowns are still doing great, still pumping out fruit. The plants that they came from, however, have not fruited since I removed these guys around that time frame. So they're just really not doing good. They're about puttered out and need to get replaced again with new crowns just like these ones. So I'm probably going to take another one of these plants, split it up, do the same thing I did with those. Doing great with these guys here again. Our melon, this is probably the biggest thing I've produced so far this year, and it's still not ready. I'm hoping that it ripens up before winter, because like the melons or the honey rocks, it just started so late. But I've read that I'm supposed to wait until this closest tendril dries up, and it looks like it's just starting to now. So I'm hoping this guy's ready before it gets frost damage. I'm surprised no animals have tried eating into this, because there's just holes everywhere from the squirrels trying to plant stuff. There's a hole there, hole there. There, you can't quite see in the video, hole there, another one right there. They've just been everywhere planting walnuts and acorns, just everything everywhere. Black raspberries, these ones here haven't really grown at all since I probably last showed them. Same thing with those ones over there. The ones towards the end have been doing pretty good, and I'm really excited to see how they overwinter and start next spring. I've been wanting to get some more wood chips to continue on and kind of get rid of the rest of this edge here. I'm going to keep the edge next to the house because I don't want anything getting into the house, but it's an old fence I'm not too worried about. I might just leave like the last couple inches away from the fence, but I want to get rid of the rest of these weeds, because same thing like what I was saying down there with the border. I don't want anything seeding itself over there. Grape did amazing in terms of growth for its first year. This one here, at least, is already up to here. I'm contemplating whether or not I need to hedge this guy back to the same height as the one that I'm going to put on the other side, which is going to be one of these ones here, it looks like, which is unfortunate because this guy really just did so well, and I want to try to maintain a balance between both sides. This guy here, I put them both in the ground same time pretty much, but this guy just did not really grow all that well. I think I've said this before, part of it was that this bud here that it came out of was pointed towards the ground. This guy was planted upside down by whoever I bought it from, so it's just not been growing the best. It took really long, it was really slow, and so this guy is kind of, in a sense, a year behind that other one. So I don't think I'm going to be getting fruit off this guy next year, unfortunately. But still growing good, and I'm really excited for next year. A pepper here. So the tomatoes, I should have guessed a little bit of the tomatoes, I think, just kind of stopped growing late summer and just kind of picked back up again recently. I think after the temperature started going down, maybe after we started getting a little bit more rain, I'm just thinking about too. Maybe they didn't, obviously the wood chips retain a lot of moisture, but if there's a limit to how much is already present, once it runs out, it runs out. So maybe these guys did need a little bit of rain to kind of help them, but they're pretty much done for the year too, because it's going to start getting way too cold here in a little bit. 2 weeks from now, it's just going to be all rain all week, and so these guys are probably just going to rot in the ground. But they did okay. We got a handful of tomatoes off them before. They've still got a couple on them that I might be able to harvest off of them. But the peppers just did not grow at all. The one on the other side is like tiny, tiny. This one here is still not that big either. It's got a load of flowers on it, as you can see. But I'm probably not going to see any of that before it gets too cold to grow at all. And I'm contemplating whether or not to try saving this guy, because peppers are perennial. You can save them and grow them the next year after. You can't let them get frosted over. The frost damage will just kill it. So I'm contemplating how I might want to try doing that. Most people will pull them up, bring them inside, chop all the leaves off, and they'll just go dormant. We'll see what happens, Haven't quite decided yet. What else do I got here that I could show you guys? I think that's pretty much it. The only other things I got growing over here are my wild strawberries, which I've showed you guys a couple times now. Beautiful, beautiful. I'm so happy for this guy. Kiwi, still small. Had a bit of a scare over the summer because it started drying out a couple spots. So we had a little bit of frost damage, which is what most of the leaf loss on these tips here are from. And then a little bit more here from just a lack of water. That was my fault, of course. But we had this whole nice bit of new growth, so I'm super excited about that. Same thing with the elderberry, lots of new growth. We're just hoping that we can keep this guy nice and happy during the winter. This is going to be the hardest part for the kiwi and the grapes and our pomegranate, because I'm not sure how the cold, wet weather is going to affect them. Some of these plants don't take to that high, like saturated wet environment. So we'll see how that goes. And hopefully, everything works out. They just survive. I put this guy in a mound. I raised the soil level up for it, and then I put the wood chips on top after that to kind of help shed water off, is what I'm hoping it'll help do, to try to prevent any root rot off this guy. I've seen people grow pomegranates here before, but we'll see what happens. I know my was it rosemary, this guy? Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is rosemary, isn't it? Yeah, rosemary. My original one died, and this is the new one. It's not going in the ground this time, because that's what happened, is I put it in the ground, and I guess it just root rot took from the rain, and it died over winter. It's really sad, but this one here is growing quite nicely. Hope that we can recoup that volume of new growth and just get a nice, good herbal seasoning for our cooking. This guy has done great. This is thyme. Yeah. I just haven't really gotten any new growth off of it. Like these guys, it's kind of spread out a little bit, but it hasn't really come out taller. And so there isn't really a lot of new growth on it in terms of like nice soft stems to cook with. They're all just kind of woody. So I assume it's because I don't prune it at all. I'm not quite sure how you would prune it to try to get a lot of new growth out of it. So maybe that's something I'll read up on over winter. But that's kind of just what I want to show you guys. A little bit of an update. I'm not sure how many more I'm going to be doing over the winter. Wildflowers here. I've been trying to spread as much of these seeds into those margins to try to get, crowd out all the dandelions and other invasives to try to help get our flower count up in this area. But I'll see what I can do on sharing stuff, and then I'm sure I'll be able to share with you guys my setup for spring next year, how I'm going to try to start seeds, improve on and fix all of the weaknesses that my last attempt really demonstrated to me, because I had a lot of issues starting seeds this last spring. But that's all I wanted to show you guys. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next time.